So good evening, everybody, and welcome to this, our very first Customer, Tech and Product event. You'll hear us call it CTAP as we go through, all about the branding. So welcome to those that have made it into our brand new building here at LWP4. We're very proud of this building. And also welcome to those who are joining us online via the power of LinkedIn Live and YouTube. So for those in here that are in 3D, I hope you've had a chance to get a drink, maybe have a little snack or two. There'll be some food at the end, so it's well worth staying. And the theme for tonight's event is all about teamwork, establishing teams, growing teams, and maintaining high performance teams, and how we've done that within CTAP. We hope that will be giving you food for thought, and maybe you could consider joining us at some time. So we have a number of current employees milling around the building, so please feel free to chat and ask them what it's really like working here. Tonight's agenda is pretty full. We've got 4 speakers. I hope you're going to really enjoy what they're going to say. And the whole thing encompasses stuff. That's an architectural term. That means everything. Rather than fleshing out this role, which I realise I'm doing, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. What can I say about her that I can get away with? I wonder. Well, she's an inspirational leader who in 7 months has taken 2 separate, very large tribes and merged them into a team. It's got a great identity, but not only the identity, it's a really fun place to work. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Jo Prosser. Come on up.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you hear me? Yes, I probably don't even need the mic. Okay, I'm going to get straight into my part. There we go, that's me. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about 3 key things. So firstly, a little bit about CTAP, so who we are and what we do. Secondly, I'm going to waffle a bit about teams because I'm passionate about teams. And thirdly, give you an example of a team that I have helped create. So 3 parts. So first of all, CTAP is part of Customer Tribe. There are other tribes available. So those of you who don't work here will not know, and those of you who do will know that we're built on a tribe model at Sky Betting and Gaming. So as well as Customer Tribe, there is bet, there's gaming, there's data, there's infrastructure, there's infosec, there's central tech strategy. Clearly, customer is the best one, and nobody in this room is going to argue with that because I think they're all from customer. So Customer Tribe is made up of 4 different elements. So number 1 is the customer engagement team, and they're all about digital marketing. The second is BI. So in BI, we have a group of analysts who give valuable insights so that we can make the right decisions for our customers. Thirdly, we've got customer operations, so a big team of over 300 people. And these are the people who speak to our customers 365 days a year, 24 hours a day on a wide range of subjects, whether that's the reason that a bet's been settled in a certain way, or whether it's safer gambling conversations to keep our customers safe. And then last but certainly not least is CTAP. So Customer, Tech and Product, and we're the people who are hosting this event tonight. In total, there are about 165 people in CTAP. Of that, 150 are tech and roughly 15 are product. So here we are. Okay, as Michelle said earlier on, Customer, Tech and Product is relatively new. So before April this year, we didn't even exist. And the first job I had from a team's perspective was to unify and bring together two completely distinct, fully functioning, fully autonomous tribes that already existed. They had their own management teams, they had their own squads, their own ways of working, their own roadmaps. And my job was to merge them together into a thing. And that's an architectural term as well. It's Ian's favourite. He's head of architecture. So into a thing, and I didn't know what that was going to be at the time. We now know that thing, more than a thing, isn't it? Is called customer tech and product. And at the time, I gave myself a goal, which was this: to unify the existing core technology tribes into one customer technology tribe with minimal disruption to people, key deliverables, and operational stability. And that's been done. And I think one of the key things that enabled us to unify and come together was creating identity and purpose. So what is that identity and purpose? Well, like all good entities, we have a vision, we have a mission, and we have some values. So our vision is the same as the vision as the customer tribe in whole, which is to deliver and inspire better moments for our customers. That's our vision, our why we exist. Secondly, we have a mission. So our mission is, what do we do to achieve our vision? So we create the best products that drive positive changes for our customers. And then thirdly, we have a set of values. Now, these are SVG values, so they're nothing new, but this is how we work, how we live and breathe our values every day. And these values are know it, share it, free to be me, and create the next. The next part about delivering an identity and a purpose and something to get behind is, well, what does CTAP actually look like? Because what we do is vast, it's varied, and it's complex. So we decided to split CTAP up into domains. So domains are groups of functions that have a common or shared purpose. So if you look at this, you'll see we have 7 domains, and within those 7 domains are 15 different squads. So they range on the bottom left to promos domains. So promos enable promos for our bet and gaming colleagues. We've got payments, we've got operations. So customer operations provide the services and products that our customer operations teams use. Over to the right-hand side, we have platform, MarTech. Up at the top, I'm not doing this in any particular order, as you can tell. Safety at the top, and then bottom right, we've got the account domain. And what I've done there is circle 2 of the squads you'll be hearing from tonight. So we have native and customer data hub. So I'm going to rant on a little bit about teams now. So teams. There are memes about teams. There are quotes about teams. There are books on teams, webinars on teams, podcasts on teams, internet articles on teams, there's training on teams, there's team building on teams. Everywhere you look, there are things on teams. Why? Teams are important. Coming together to deliver something with a shared purpose is really important, whether you're at work, whether you're at home, whatever you're doing. If you think about it, particularly at work, there are very few things you do that won't end up being part of a group activity or a group process. So having said there's all this stuff on teams, I'm going to give you a couple of quotes. So the first one is by Vince Lombardi, who you probably haven't heard of. So Vince was a renowned football coach in the US in the 1960s. So he was coach from 1959 to 1967 of the Green Bay Packers. And he helped them win 5 NFL championships and 2 Super Bowl championships over 9 years. And what is he renowned for? He's renowned for inspiring people, winning, teams, individuals working to a common purpose, motivation. So if you put his name in Google and ask for his quotes, it'll come up with in excess of 100. And I defy you to not have a fire lit underneath you when you read those things about winning, about teams, about achieving things. They are so inspirational. So what he said was individual commitment to a group effort. That is what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, a civilization work. The second one is Patrick Lencioni. So I think I spelled his name wrong, actually. Patrick Lencioni. So he's the guy that wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Love him. As far as I'm concerned, he's one of the key authorities on teams and teamwork. And my team will know, because I've sent them books in the past that he's written and encouraged them to read them. So what he said was, if someone were to ask me to make a list of the most valuable qualities a person should develop in order to thrive in the world of work, and for that matter, life, I would put being a team player at the top. Few people succeed at work, in the family, or in any social context without it. So what these two people who are inspired individuals who drive and shape and talk about teams and team building are saying is, you need to be able to work in a team, whether that's at home, whether that's in society, whether that's at work. I'm going to rant a bit, but I told you, waffle about teams, but teams are ace. How ace is it to work in a team that you love? So I'm just going to put that down and get told off because I'm not allowed to rove. But sorry, everybody who's watching online. In the front row, I've got some of my team. I'm going to fist bump them because they are awesome and we're a really cool team. So being a part of a team that works really well is fantastic. Winning as a team, achieving as a team, laughing as a team, accomplishing things as a team, and yes, failing as a team, whether that's all of you, whether that's one of you, you're there to have each other's back. There's nothing like working in a high-performing team where there is trust, respect, and all of those great things. So teams are ace. Great teams are made. They're a result of hard work and investment. They don't just happen. So I interviewed somebody last year and I asked them an interview question. What are you going to do to form this brand new team of X, Y, and Z person? That person said, I was hoping it would just happen organically. No, great teams do not happen. You have to invest in making them strong teams. Do you think Alex Ferguson just brought in Man United players and said, go for it, do your stuff? No, everything was planned. It was thought out. There was strategy. There was investment. You have to invest in teams. They don't just happen. A group of people who work together does not equal a team. Just because you work together, just because you've got things in common, just because you're supposed to be a team doesn't mean you are a team. So teams can be an unhappy place then? Absolutely. Teams can be terrible. I'm trying to refrain from swearing because I don't know if I'm allowed, but teams can be a bad place. I actually, again, spoke to somebody this week who told me they're in a team, they hate it, they don't feel involved, they don't feel engaged, they don't feel valued. It's a really bad place to be if you're in a team that you don't like or it's not working properly. Nobody in this room, by the way. The quality and effectiveness of a team is in direct proportion to the effort that goes into building and continually enhancing that team. Put effort in, you get a great team. No effort, rubbish team. And crucially, the work never stops. You can never stop working on a team because life happens, things change. A person leaves the team, your dynamics changed. A person joins the team, your dynamics change, and this happens all the time. So the work never stops. You can never stop investing in a team. So at SBG, we have a network of teams at our core. We're built on the concept of teams. Tribes are big teams. There are sub-teams. There are teams everywhere. And I'm an example of that. So I'm part of 4 key teams. So I'm part of customer tech and product. So the 160 odd people that I told you about earlier, that's a tribe, that's a team. I'm part of that team. I'm also part of the CTAP leadership team. So I consider that my home team. I spend more time with that team than anybody. We meet every day and that we're the people who steer customer tech and product in the right direction. I'm also part of the customer tribe leadership team. So thinking back to the first slide that showed the 4 different shapes, if each of those people has a leader, we all come together and we're part of the customer tribe leadership team. And then I'm also part of the technology leadership team. So each of the tribes I mentioned earlier has a technology director, and we come together as a team. And again, I can say the effort invested into each of those teams reaps the rewards in terms of how well those teams function. But I'm going to talk about one of the finest teams I've ever worked in, the CTAP leadership team. So thinking back to the earlier slide that I showed you about two separate, distinct and fully functioning tribes coming together, each of those had a leadership team. So there's no names on here, these are just roles. So part of the job of combining those two tribes into one new thing, customer tech and product, was pulling together two leadership teams and then rationalizing it. So we took 16 people in two leadership teams and turned them into one leadership team of 8. So that involves some tough conversations, as you can imagine. It was a tough gig. Here's the approach I took. So people-focused approach at all times. I do consider myself to be a people-focused manager. So what I did was looked at each of those 16 people in that team, plotted them on some sort of matrix and thought about how would they think, feel, react. How would they feel about not being in the team? What could I anticipate their feelings might be? What might they do? All of that. So that individual people impact. Assess levels of engagement at the point of bringing everybody together and continually. So you take a baseline. When teams first form, you would think that you're going to have relatively low levels of engagement. People don't know each other. There's no vision. There's no roles. There's no trust. There's no respect or lack of those things. It might be that they don't exist at all, but those levels are low. So took a base mark, continue to measure that. I can say we've got really high levels of engagement now. Tried to create psychological safety and a culture of trust. Everyone has a voice. Productive conflict exists. And we have clarity, we have commitment, we have buy-in to decisions. And I've put, can you live with that? Because often that's what my team will hear me say. I'll try and get a view from everybody and at the end say, can you live with that? Because that hasn't been everybody's preferred solution or preferred idea or preferred outcome. But it's important when we've had that conversation and we've made a decision that everybody can buy into it when they come out of the room. And you'll see things about that in the 5 dysfunctions of a team if you care to read that book. It's funny, actually, because I said I sent books out to my team earlier, and one of them said to me about a month ago, I can see where you're taking your style from. I recognized it in this book. So what else? Proactive team building. So coming back to the point, which is teams don't just happen. We've done insights, personality profiling. Other personality profiling exists, but insights is my preferred. So it's all about your personality type, how you like to communicate, how you like to be involved with other people, what your thought process is, what motivates you, things like that. We've done live feedback, so got together in a room and given each other face-to-face feedback, starting off with what's the great thing about you and what do you bring to this team? And that was awesome. We all came out buzzing, knowing the value, the positive value that we brought to the team. One of the things that we'll do in the future is the reverse of that. So it would help me work better in this team if you did X, Y, and Z. But that's a maturity thing and that will come. Reading books on teams, obviously, I think I've got that point across, learned loads from that, so I really do encourage it. And tomorrow, actually, we're doing a volunteering day. So we're volunteering in a community, which is a double win. We help people out and it's a team building exercise. So that will be happening tomorrow. And then finally, communication. It's key in a team. We meet every single day. Now, not everybody can attend every meeting every day, but we have the meeting booked in every day. We have from the start, and I'm confident that that's one of the things that's made us a really strong team. We start every day by checking in. Checking in means you give a score out of 10, which indicates how you're feeling. 10, yay, I'm feeling brilliant. Down to, I don't think we've ever had lower than a 4. 4 is, I'm not feeling great. And you've got to talk about why you're a 4, why you're a 10. It could be work related, could have a lot on, it could be something happening at home. But you can see the pattern that every day we're talking about ourselves and we're learning what's happening at work, at home, building those interpersonal relationships. So I think I've done these next 2 points. So it's all about what's going on at work, so the know it, share it value, building those relationships, understanding what's going on out of work, building those strong relationships and, dare I say, friendships. So how do I know we've built great teams? So some indicators. We have really strong engagement scores. So we measure engagement at local level from a team's perspective. We measure engagement at tribe level. We are one of the strongest, we have one of the strongest engagement scores across the whole of technology. Really proud of that. And that tells me that largely people are engaged, happy and motivated. We recognise and celebrate each other's success at a local level, at a tribe level. We have a Slack channel where we celebrate the great things that people have done, which is brilliant. And there is, particularly in the leadership team, so I'm jumping about a bit here between teams, but there is trust, psychological safety, and healthy conflict. And I asked recently some of my team, tell me, what's a good thing about working in this leadership team? And somebody really helped me out for tonight. They didn't know it, but they've helped me out by saying this, which is we've all got different strengths. Each member of the leadership team brings something valued and different. We all have a voice, and every voice is heard and respected. When we meet, we listen. Our opinions might change, and we form a consensus, and we move forward with purpose. How ace is that? Like I said, teams are ace. There's a strong commitment to work together to get things done, and we do deliver results. There's a shared identity and purpose. So we've got that CTAP identity, we've got the CTAP brand, we've got people here wearing hoodies, we've got the vision, the mission, the values. We understand we are vast and complex and how we're split up into domains. We understand that. And there is pride in CTAP and there's pride in the CTAP LT. I asked recently a number of people, do you feel proud to work in CTAP? A couple of responses. I really am proud to work in CTAP. I tell people how good it is all the time. I'm proud to work in a tribe where we protect the customer, but are willing to work, succeed, and fail together. We celebrate our identity, not my words, other people's words. However, all that is good, but there is so much more to do because the work never stops. Thank you.
Right, thanks for that, Jo. That's really insightful. What I didn't mention at the beginning is for those that are online, if you want to ask a question, just pop it in the comments part on the YouTube channel you're watching, and we'll try and address those throughout. We'll probably stop for a little question and answer session after the next presentation. So, yeah, you can sit down. Please do. We are monitoring it and we will get through. We will be having a 5-minute interval as well after the next presentation, so you can go and grab a drink. So next. Wow. Yeah, what a beautiful looking panel we've got here. So we've got Mick Fisher, Jo Capewell, and Tony Blundell. Yeah, you just want to take them in and give them a hug, don't you? So I'm going to invite Mick first. I'm going to introduce him and he'll introduce his other colleagues. So what can we say about Mick? So he's a senior solutions architect. He's a little older than the average employee at SB&G. I guess he's got a mic already. But also, please forgive him. He is a lifelong Sheffield United supporter.
Yay.
Somebody has to. So without ado, I'd like to welcome Mick, Jo, and Tony to the stage to tell you all about something that's really amazing, our customer data hub.
Thank you, Michelle. I've been called a few things, most recently by my wife during lockdown. She's watching actually today, so she won't be offended, although I probably won't get any tea when I get home. But beautiful is not one of those things. Old, yes. Okay, as Michelle said, I'm Mick Fisher, Senior Solutions Architect within the Customer Tech and Product Tribe. And we're here today, I'm here with some colleagues to talk to you about a really exciting development we've been working on for the last few months called the Customer Data Hub. Excellent slide, by the way, I think you'll find there. Yeah. Okay, so tonight I'm going to talk to you about why we thought we needed this new shiny thing and what it actually is. I've got Mr. Tony Blundell here today, who was the tech lead, senior software engineer, who's going to talk to you about how we turned a dream into a reality. And finally, we've got Mr. Joe Capewell here. He's Agile Delivery Lead and on the squad, and he's going to talk about where we are now and what came next. What did the future look like? Okay, so why do we need the Customer Data Hub? You know, what's the business problem that we're actually trying to solve? So I've written a sentence here. I'm not an industry expert. I just think this is true for a lot of businesses, actually. Access to data is absolutely key to allow our business to make informed decisions, which I think is, like I say, in this day and age, especially, you can gain competitive edge if you have access to data, you understand what that means, and you can make informed decisions from that, which is fine. Historically, we had access to data, but it was from either a data warehouse, which had a little bit of a lag on there, sometimes as long as 24 hours, or we had different feeds that we'd set up from different areas, which weren't as reliable as we'd like. So we thought we could improve on this, and that's where the idea of the Customer Data Hub came. So we've added I've added a few red words there. So the statement that we thought was an achievable aim for the Customer Data Hub was access to accurate current data in a consistent, reliable way is absolutely key to allow our business to make informed decisions in real time. Now, all those words are important, but I think we wanted to focus on the fact that we wanted to deliver this data in near real time as we could, because that's very powerful. It allows us to make decisions almost immediately. So if you think about an example where a customer makes a large deposit, for example, if we know about that, we can make decisions to protect that customer almost immediately, and that's what we wanted to do. So what is the Customer Data Hub? We thought of it initially as basically a central nervous system for customer data. So if an event happens, like a customer updates their email address, for example, we'll pick that up. That will trigger something to the Customer Data Hub. We'll transform that into something that a consumer would understand, and basically deliver it to that consumer so they can make decisions about it. We also wanted to control the data that essentially we own as the experience domain in terms of customer information. We know it best. We also deal with very sensitive data, secret data, and we wanted to control access to that so it wasn't just a free-for-all. We wanted to use ubiquitous language. This is a bit of a domain-driven design concept where the domain and the business, you understand exactly what you're talking about. We didn't feel we had that previously. It was all coming from database tables and things like that that nobody really understood unless you had extensive knowledge. So we wanted to correct that. We wanted it to be quickly extensible. So within our technology choices, which Tony will explain a little bit more about, we wanted to be able to extend on it. We wanted to work under sort of a generalistic principle where we supplied data and consumers could actually just onboard onto the Customer Data Hub and pick that data up without us changing it. But if we wanted to extend it, we could. And we didn't want so there's multiple sources of data, right? Customer data. What we didn't want to happen is consumers to have to go there to each of these different sources if they wanted to see the database or they wanted historical customer information. We wanted them to come to us, the customer data hub, be a one-stop shop. Okay, so how did we move things forward? I think one of the main things here is to just explain that this was a completely bottom-up endeavour. There wasn't a regulatory requirement around this. There wasn't a C-level exec that said, you must do this, which they don't do that anyway, to be honest, generally in SPG. This was architects and engineers thinking of this idea, thinking how we could add real value, and that's how we went with that idea. I think one of the things I love about SPG, anybody talks to me, I'm always singing the praises of SPG. I've worked in lots of different places, and this is by far the most supportive business I've worked for. But if you've got an idea, anybody can come up with this idea. And if it drives value, you can talk to the leadership team, talk to your peers, and you'll get support. That's really empowering, I believe. The next thing we did, so we chose a technology, and we wanted to build a really solid foundation for this. So we wanted to talk to the industry experts around this technology. So we went cap in hand. Mr. Ian Moore took his rather large cap and took it to the leadership team and explained what we wanted to do, and we got the funding for it. So we had about 8 days of the industry experts' time, and it allowed us to do a really up design, get that foundation in place, so we knew what we were doing. So we got the idea, we talked to the experts basically on the technology, what happened next. Well, you're nothing without a real world requirement, right? And we got one. We got the financial vulnerability check capability that was coming out as part of the regulation, but we decided to accelerate that, and the customer data hub supported that. I think that's about me. I'm going to hand over to Tony now to talk to you about how we made this a reality.
Cheers. Good evening. Okay, so I'm Tony. Like Mick said, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we kind of approach this sort of work in CTAP. My audience close enough. So basically, the customer data hub started about just coming up to a year ago now, and the first kind of iterations happened in L&D time, learning and development time. What that is every second Friday, everyone in the tribe's encouraged to put up in their usual day-to-day work and kind of concentrate on their own personal development. You can use it for training courses, that sort of thing. Engineers sometimes use it to learn new programming languages or get through a stack of management books, that sort of thing. So at the time, I was quite interested in kind of event-driven technologies, Kafka, that sort of thing. And speaking around to Nick and Ian and a few others, it became apparent that sort of thing would be useful for building out those sort of ideas that they were having around the customer data hub. So we used this time to kind of put together some initial demos, kind of proof of concepts, and kind of prove out what we were suggesting would work. And also, obviously, it's a big win for a developer to be able to develop their own skills and learn new languages, doing that sort of thing. So we did that. We kind of did some initial drafts, got some good feedback, and then we took it to tech steering. Now that's a weekly meeting we have. It's an hour every Tuesday afternoon where we essentially talk through upcoming technology, future work, that sort of thing, which it might sound not like a good way to sell a job. You have to go to a meeting every week and talk about technology. But as an engineer, it's really valuable to essentially have a room full of 20 experts to bounce ideas off, to get feedback, to collaborate, because 9 times out of 10, if you're thinking about something, someone's already done it or had some experience in it. So we did that. That helped us kind of showcase what we wanted to build and get lots of good feedback on it. And kind of get a bit more buy-in, a bit more exposure to the wider business, and a bit more buy-in from the management team. That happened. We kind of carried on. We got some time booked with Confluent. For those who don't know, Confluent's a company that provide a lot of technologies around event-based streaming applications, things like goals.The, if you've heard of that, Kafka Connect, that sort of thing. We ended up having, I think, 4 sets of 2-day sessions with one of their engineers, which again, it's another like invaluable thing for a developer to actually be able to speak to the people who are building and developing the tools that you're using, rather than just sitting on your own, bang your head against Stack Overflow. It's like I've never worked at a company that's been able to provide that sort of connection before. It's really invaluable. So we use that time to get some feedback on our initial investigations and kind of iterate on it. We'd take some ideas on board, go away for a few weeks, and come back and get more feedback. And we kind of built up what we were going to build, how we're going to approach it through those sessions. After that, things went really quickly. I think we went from 6 months. In 6 months, we went from that initial idea to, and this is kind of how well supported we were, to having these sessions with Confluent, figuring out what we're going to build, how we're going to build it, getting the use cases, which Mick talked about, the affordability projects, that sort of thing, and making that a reality. 6 months, we've got a team of contractors on board to support us in putting this thing in place. And we were out in live, the first iteration. And that's kind of where we're at. We've made a start. We've addressed the primary concerns of these affordability and customer safety tools, but we've also tried to do it in a way where we're building a platform that we can expand on, and that's going to provide for our data needs for the tribe for a long time into the future. So that's where we're at. The tech that we're using, just briefly, it's event-based things. We're using Apache Kafka with Kafka streams, goals.DB to store data. We're using Scala, though we're not the type of place that kind of mandates you must use this language. We like to pick the best tool for the job. If you've got experience in lots of different tools, different languages, it's the type of place where you can put that forward, and we'll choose and kind of make the best use of everybody's experiences. We're Dockerized. Everything runs on containers in Kubernetes. If these are scary words, we've got some really experienced and great DevOps engineers to help us out with that, which is valuable for someone like me. That's kind of where we're at, what we're looking at tech-wise. For future, we're kind of looking at how we can expand it. We're thinking about things like putting GraphQL APIs on top of it and kind of providing that data in a more ad hoc way, rather than for customers that just want to stream it in and react to events, basically. So like I say, we've got these foundations in place. It's a really exciting project, some really cool technology to work on. What we need are creative people, all disciplines, to kind of contribute to that. And in return, like I say, you'll be given the opportunity to work on some cool technology. You're given lots of autonomy. You can really kind of shape your own development, really further yourself, and kind of shape what we're doing as a tribe going into the future, as well as the wider business, I guess. So I think that's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Joe, who's our Agile Delivery Lead.
Well, thanks, Tony. Can you just, yeah, that's it, perfect. Hi, everyone. As Tony said, I'm Joe. I'm Agile Delivery Lead for the Customer Data Hub Squad. And as Mick mentioned, I get the pleasure of talking to you about where we're going and what the future holds for the Customer Data Hub Squad. But before we do that, I think it's helpful to kind of understand where we are now. So first piece on there is the Customer Data Hub going live. So we did that September time. And with that came our first consumer onboarding, so the vulnerability checks initiative, which again Mick spoke about just a little earlier. We really got some value from the CDH with that by essentially enabling checks to happen at a far quicker rate than they would have been initially, due to the near real-time data that we're providing as the Customer Data Hub. So that was September time. More recently, in the last couple of weeks, we've had this next challenge and opportunity of the CBSE ingestion. So the CBSE is the cross-brand self-exclusion squad, and we've been given a challenge and opportunity of ingesting that squad into our own. So essentially trying to merge two teams together, a bit like Joe spoke about earlier as well. But as you can imagine, we've got to do a lot of adapting as a team to make that happen. And I think this is a brilliant example of how Sky Bet lets teams be autonomous in how they work and really build themselves to be aligned together and heading in the right direction. So we're holding sessions on ways of working to essentially establish the values we want to take as teams working together, how we actually function as a team, how we talk to each other, and how other squads talk to us, so that we're all trying to aim in that one same direction. So now I'm going to talk about further demand. We've got, hopefully, we've let you know about how much value the customer data hub is to Sky Bet. And actually, because of that, a lot of the company is seeing that value and wants a piece of what we're offering, which is brilliant. But it means there's an awful lot of work on our plates, and so now we've got that requirement for a permanent squad. It's a necessity for us in order to be able to deliver and expand the data hub like we need to and want to. And just finally, the primary source of data. So that was our goal. I spoke about the ways of working sessions. As part of that alignment, we come up with mission statements, value statements, and that being becoming the primary source of data for all initiatives within SBG. So obviously with going live just in September, we've got a long way to go to get to that point. But we're all heading in the right direction. It's a very real goal. And then, as I said, with that CBSE ingestion, we've got some adapting to do, and that goal will likely change to ensure that, like I said again, alignment between the two squads as we work together as a team to achieve those goals from a CBSE perspective and a CDH perspective. Cool, that's about me. Michelle, are we taking questions now? Yes. Have we got any questions? Don't all jump at once, yes. Yeah, so what that was about was providing, well, maybe you can jump in, Tony, jump in if you want, but for me, that was about providing a single point for the whole of SBG to essentially, and it's the different types, it's the customer data as well. I don't know.
I think it's about real-time data as well. You know, a data warehouse generally is not there to support real-time requirements. I would think, you know, it's about data science. It's about taking big wads of data and understanding that data, which is difficult to do in near real time. This is more about events coming through as they happen and being able to make decisions about that. So we're not trying to take over the data warehouse at all, not in the slightest. I think part of the strategic sort of data platform work is for domains to take their own initiatives, basically, in terms of the data that they own. But yeah, we're definitely not trying to replace the data warehouse by any call. It's the real-time thing, really. You know, having that ability to make decisions based on real-time data rather than having to sort of wait for it. So yeah, we're not doing that at all.
Have we got any from LinkedIn? Andrew?
That's it. Yeah. It's a good question. We started off prototyping, like I said, and we decided to pick a JVM language just because a lot of the tooling around the technologies that we wanted to use, Kafka, that sort of thing, are written in JVM or Java, basically. And that meant it would basically shoot out to in Java, Kotlin, Scala. We went to Scala because we had a bit of experience from a previous project. It could quite easily have been one of the other languages, and it's stuff that you can kind of demo and prove out and work on. So we ended up with Scala, kind of prettier Java. Yeah.
So we've got a question for Joe, actually, from our online audience. Joe, how did you handle the quieter members of the teams? I've managed to bring them along when the team was small, but when the team were over 30, I found it takes a lot of effort. Smaller teams into... Oh, are we there? Oh, do you want me to?
I think, again, it's always a people-based approach. And if you think about, so I'm not clear on whether that question's about forming the leadership team or the bigger tribes, but if you remember, I said it's always about a people-based approach. Don't know where to look. And so it was that concept of plotting on a matrix every single person and trying to ascertain how they might react, and understanding what they might think and feel and making sure they felt comfortable. So certainly in terms of the leadership team and rationalizing that from 16 to 8, it was one-to-ones, it was conversations. Some people needed more than others. So not necessarily about the quiet people, but some people needed lots of sessions up front when things were happening and actually after things had happened. So it's taking that individual approach. And even in teams, bigger teams, you can do the same, but I couldn't necessarily do everything myself. It was making sure that people in my team had that same people approach to their team. You can always manage it. It's treating people as individuals and understanding how they're going to think, react, feel, and what they might need. Okay. Any more questions online? Okay.
Right, so thank you, and thank you to the three amigos. It was a really, really good session. And it really did start off as just an idea, just a discussion, and it is now real. We're now going to take a 5-minute break. So please don't go away, but go get yourself a drink, go to toilet, but do come back, because after the break, okay, apparently I need to tell you precisely when we come back. So if you can be back for 18:55, and we'll start again. So thank you very much, everybody. Hello, welcome back. Trust you have all got a drink, made a little dash to the bathroom. And I'd like to now introduce to you. In fact, I'm actually really excited about this, our next speakers. So first of all, we're going to hear from Ryan Caldwell about the challenges of building a native team and that vision. So not just the team, but building out the vision. And then, can I get a drum roll? We get to hear from a real live Brazilian sort of set TV star. Okay, he was 11 at the time, but you know. So please welcome to our third Joe of the night. I don't think you have to be called Joe to work at CTAP, but I think it does help. So Ryan, Joe, welcome to the...
So I'll be relatively quick so you can get to the Brazilian TV star. We want to start off with explaining what native is to CTAP. So we use native to describe the language that we use to build mobile apps. So there are two versions of it, one for Android and one for iOS. And us within the native at the moment look specifically at the iOS side of things. We've got 8 iOS apps across SB and G, some regular betting and gaming big hitters in there, so Bet, Casino, Vegas, but also some of our more free-to-play entertainment-based stuff, ITV7, Fantasy Football, and Super 6. And each one of these use varying degrees. I don't want a death on me. Don't die. Each one of these have used varying degrees of native code within them, and a combination of native and web. So different ratios for each app. And where CTAP come in is we're responsible for certain features or customer journeys within those. So stuff like making payments, the onboarding journey, the account journey, and our safer gambling tools. And those elements are within the apps, and it's safe to say they have been organic in their growth within those apps. That originally was messy, but it was replaced by organic at the last minute. So they've been added into them at different times. So the apps are released at different times, different teams, different owners, different use cases, different tweaks on every journey as we've gone over the years. So that's led to, and back to that organic versus messy, is every time we want to make a change to any of those key journeys that we own, we're doing it 8 times. We're doing it into 8 individual teams. We're doing it of all those tweaks, all those little modifications over the years to meet an extra requirement there. And it's very, very inefficient, very, very painful, and very, very long process to get through. So we saw opportunity there that we wanted to improve it. That third bullet in there also added weight to why we wanted to look at native as a whole, because we were increasingly driven by Apple to move that ratio up to between the native code and the web content. I say driven, pressure, made. Increasingly, we have to do this. So both those combined meant that we wanted to look at improving that native experience within CTAP-owned deliverables. So we wanted to look at the outcomes that we wanted to set and the goal to build a strategy together. The first one we came up with was to provide a single consistent implementation of CTAP services for consumers, reduce the technical burden on external teams while reflecting best practice. That really brings together those sort of technical elements that we talked to. So a lot of organic, messy code over the years. Wanted to bring that as centralized, wanted to make it more efficient, easier to update, a universal experience, and the pressure from Apple to move over to more native code within the apps. But what we didn't want to do, and what we were at a big risk of just focusing on that, was to be a very tech-led project, and we didn't want that. We wanted to put equal, if not more, I am a product person, provenance to the customer side of things. So we put a second outcome very early on in, which was to give customers a universal experience across our apps, which keeps them safe, secure, and puts usability at the heart of our world. We were really, really keen as a team that they both had equal prominence within our goals. And they combined to the statement at the bottom, which was to build exceptional, consistent iOS native experiences for both customers and for our colleagues within SB&G. There you go. So how do we make it happen? This is a bit controversial one. I don't know if you've seen it, but we got it wrong. We got it completely wrong. So we employed one person, one native engineer that sat within the teams for a long time, didn't have the support structure, didn't have the supporting roles dedicated to a team, and we didn't get very far. No, didn't end there. But we recognised that. We looked at it, we saw that it wasn't working, and we then got it right. So how do we do that? We got people bought in. And how we did that, that was different layers to do that. One was the CTAP leadership team. That was fairly easy. One was the wider leadership team who hold the purse strings. That was more important. But the bigger, more important, really important was getting the buy-in from those individual app-owning teams, the Bet, the Vegas app, the casino app, Super Six, to really buy into what we wanted to achieve. Then I won't dwell on this one too much because Joe's got a lot on this, but we recruited the right people in the right roles. So building that tech team and building up the supporting teams, your BAs, your ADL, the product owner, and having those dedicated to the team as well. And then finally, we started with a little bit of a clean slate. So we started again. We had a whole history of native. We as a team got together and started afresh. We did that again by, and it's a theme throughout the night, talking, collaborating, evangelizing about native in every meeting, anywhere anyone would listen. And it's basically how we ended up here tonight. So over to Joe.
As a former child star, I work better from a script. So I'm just going to need my notes a sec. Do some stand up whilst we wait. I won't. Yeah. Wow, the weather this time of year, am I right? Okay. So we've got the idea firmly supported. It's time to build a team remotely. And there's a real difference between going remote and being remote. And in CTAP, flexibility is embedded within our DNA. The flexibility to choose how you work, when you work, but also to be trusted to do that work is a really refreshing approach from any business. But of a business of this size, it really is refreshing. So that didn't change there, and that threw me off. So we begun by hiring a really talented team. So we already had the engineer who had tons of context, knew the product, but we had new ambitions and we needed to ramp it up. So we hired 3 more engineers as well as myself. 2 of those engineers started remotely. So one's based in Newcastle, another in London. And our senior engineers yet to start, we're really looking forward to. But we needed something that would make us stand out. There's a huge amount of iOS roles available. The talent pool's wider. So why us? Why CTAP? Why SBG? Well, this was a new greenfield project heavily backed by the business. We've got the autonomy to choose our tech and build it the way we saw fit. We had a real opportunity to shape the native strategy, not just within CTAP, but the wider business as well. And there's scope, and I mean real scope to this project. It's fundamental to how our apps work. And we're given the time, the space, the autonomy to really build the right thing for our customers. And so with that in mind, we were able to attract good candidates and really start that process. But what we found was hiring remotely is different and it can be difficult. That traditional, let's go for a coffee and have a chat, that had to go because of you're hiring further afield, you've got local restrictions in place. That was really, it could have been challenging. But what it allowed us to show was just how good the culture is at SBG and how well we've adapted to a digital first way of working. So we changed our hiring process completely. What we wanted to do was show how we work in the squads day to day. So we used the tool, our low latency pairing tool that we use day to day, as part of our hiring process. Come and see exactly how we work. Candidates got to experience exactly what it's like to work with us. We designed a problem that you would face working here, solve it, ask us. It would encourage things like rubber ducking, Googling the heck out of the problem, or simply going, I really don't know, mate, can you tell me? And we would do that because that's what it's like to work here. It's safe to go, nope, I don't know the answer to this. What do this group of experts know? And you'll find the answer somewhere amongst it. And that's the SBG culture that we live and breathe daily in CTAP. So it's only right that we bake that into our hiring process. And I really think we got it right. And we've hired a really talented team off the back of that. So we've got some new engineers. They're onboarded, but you've got to crack on then. As Joe said, the work never stops. So we had to become a team. You don't want a big group of individuals who are just coding away and solving problems independent of each other. Pre-COVID, that's things like, let's go to lunch together, let's go for a coffee together, and those kind of things. But what we found was you need to overshare more. You need to talk. And we've got that right now. I'll Slack people on my team. How's your weekend? How are you doing? What are you up to? Do you want to jump in a huddle? But it's things as well like, hey, this is happening. I'd really like your opinion on this. Or, hey, we're about to do this for all those reasons. Do you think that's right? And that's key and that's critical when you're remote because it's easy to kind of make those decisions a little bit siloed. But CTAP has that embedded in. We also keep people in the loop and involved, and that's really important for building a culture in a new team. We pair so much more, almost more now than we did when we were in the office. And that to me was a little bit strange at first, but it doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't have to be, enforced. It's something that we like to do together now because we see value in those. Those sessions turn into chats. Those sessions turn into one-to-ones, but they're revealing, they're fun, they build trust, and they embed psychological safety within a team. I also learned from a manager that forced fun is still fun. Go into those sessions in the calendar, you think, oh, what is going on here? You're all a bit awkward at first, but then you start playing Among Us and you start talking about silly things and you start having jokes. And those things are really revealing about a team and it's fun. It is good. And that's what we've tried to do whilst building this new team. Oh, I need to, if I don't change slide, can someone go change slide, you moron? So overshare. So with that in place, we've got the team, we know who we are. It was time to really start building. And there's a shift here because this was traditionally a web-based company. And there's a shift in culture to be a native first engineering culture as well now. It's multi-channel, we call it, but it's multiple platforms that we're supporting. So we need to get that across. And we can't do that without first defining a good process. And before you start building with any new team, you've got to define loose processes. These aren't hard and fast rules. They're just things you need up front that you can refine later, that are living documents. But it's also important to have full team engagement, delivery, BA, product, program, test, engineering, the whole meal. A ways of working session isn't just one and done. You need to continuously do these, refine these, figure out what's your definition of ready, what's your definition of done, what do you want it to be? And whole team engagement is critical to that. You want team buy-in. And we were really fortunate that, our team really wanted to be a part of that. They weren't just all about code. They're about making things right and making it so we deliver things right. So that's the first thing we did as a team. The next thing was, okay, well, where can we add value? We know what we want to do. Yes, thank you. So where can we add value? We know what we wanted to build. We've got a clear vision from leadership. They know what they want from us. But what we needed to know is how can our expertise add value on top of that? And this is one of the great things about CTAP is we were given the autonomy to choose that. So we wanted to put the customer first. We wanted to make a native home screen that is accessible, that can be personalized, that offers real value on top of what already exists. We had tons of session. You can see a Miro board there because I'm limited on kind of what I can show, but there was tons that went into this, loads of detail, and it had full buy-in from everybody in the team, and we're all part of that. And for a new team, that's a massive motivator, and that's something that really got us engaged. Again, though, the key thing is getting everybody involved, and everybody's always allowed to be involved in that process. There's no wrong suggestion, there's no bad suggestion, there's just suggestions that we'll hash out together. In terms of tech as well, we had the autonomy to choose that. And it wasn't just me as a tech lead deciding that, it was me going, right, what did you do in your past company that worked well? What didn't work so well? How do we build this successfully? I'll get into a bit of detail. The proof of concept was great, but it was this monolithic, hard to scale thing. So we wanted to break that down into this kind of highly modular framework, or SDK, whatever you want to call it, that can be used across all apps. But not just that, we wanted it to be plug and play. So free-to-play consumers don't want payments, take that out. We thought about things like keeping binary size down, things about taking exactly what you need to create the next or innovate further. We're also operating at immense scale, so it has to be right. Sky Bet alone has 1 million+ monthly actives, Super 6 1 million+ monthly actives, ITV7 almost 500,000. That is serious scale that we're operating at. So quality has to be baked in. The first thing we did was set up our CI and CD pipelines. We started to revisit our unit test strategy. We started to revisit our automation test strategy. And we did this as a team. What do we want it to look like? How does it deliver value? We got 5 different modules, all with 70% plus test coverage. That was immense. We went from a proof of concept to nothing to a full pipeline delivering these to our consumers. And that's something I'm really proud of. We have forced quality right at the start, and that sets us up for future success. So to recap, where can we add value? Well, we wanted a consistent experience across all our apps, and I'll show a little demo of what we've done to improve that. We wanted to encourage cross-tribe, cross-brand collaboration. We had meetings in place previously where we discussed what we was up to with cross-tribes, but they were waning. So what we wanted to do was show off exactly what was building constantly. But we also wanted to put customer tribe, CTAP there, at the forefront of SBG native. We're the first team to use Swift UI in production. That's going live. That's pretty groundbreaking for a brand new team, and we're really proud of that. We're the first team to explore vision APIs within our SDK. We're doing card scanning and things like that no other team across the business are doing. We're the first SDK used across multiple apps by multiple teams. Also, it's the right thing to do for the customer. This is a native device. Let's give them a properly native experience. So with that in mind, here's a short demo. This is the existing implementation of Account, which is essentially a web iframe. And well, I'll let you watch it and see if you can figure out how to enable Face ID, because that's one of the things I'm most proud about. Quickly out, come back, and I've got Face ID. It's not really clear how you got Face ID on there, but it was through clicking that little remember me checkbox. And this is one of the first things we did. We was like, right, how do we improve that? And so this is the new experience. So this is the new ITV7 app, yet to be released, but we completely revamped it. So you log in, add all your username, PIN, and then you're presented with a Swift UI screen, groundbreaking tech to enable Face ID, really giving the understanding to the customer, this is how you do it. And that's consistent across all our apps because this is a shared framework. We've then got a completely new native account experience where you get actual kind of native feel for what it means to kind of browse around something. So you've got push, pop, and those kind of things. So we've added value from an old kind of clunky web experience on native, not on web. It works great on web, but on native, it's not right. And we've drastically improved that. And then we've rolled it out to several consumers and they get it consistently. That to me is great. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Ryan. That was really, really good. I loved the demo. Definitely use those, so it's quite nice. That recognises my face. Now, I know we're running a little bit long, but I hope you all appreciate that. That talk was well worth it. So who have we got next? Got somebody from the future, from the year 2031. I'd like to introduce Mr. Ian Moore, who's going to tell us how we've been dealing and keeping our customers safe in the last 10 years, or for him, it's the last 10 years. For us, it's the next 10 years. Thanks, Ian.
Thanks very much, Michelle. How's the sound at the back? Hear me okay? Excellent, thank you. Let's remember to do this as well. So, welcome. Now, before I start, I'm just going to talk about this. Make this work. Which I can't. In the future, this doesn't happen. Do I need to stand closer? Oh, that one. We're sensitive species. We get a buzz from things that are bad for us and bad for those around us. Drink, drugs, gambling, and we're easily manipulated and exploited. Sorry, I'm just going to change this. If I can. Also 5, there we go. Brilliant. There we go. We're easily manipulated and exploited. Media, adverts, social networks, gaming, Darren Brown, and governments. And we can behave like idiots when we think we're anonymous, in cars and on social media. We need protecting. We need protecting from ourselves, from others, and from manipulation. But before I go any further, I've got a few not so subliminal messages. So welcome to Customer 2031. And hello and good evening to all our people at home, and especially those that are dialed in from the metaverse. A warm cyber welcome to you. This is going to be a look back over the last 10 years at the key points that have shaped our organisation and products. Back in 2021, I worked for Sky Betting and Gaming. And as I was preparing this slide deck, I thought I'd use a PowerPoint template from the time. Now, there's aspects of the last 10 years I'm just going to skip over. I'm going to take a light touch look at the evolution of devices. It's kind of incredible to think of the changes that have happened in the last 10 years, the evolutions in bio and nanotechnology that made the kind of current devices that we use possible. But I'm going to skip over that. Just to remind you the kind of thing we were using back in the day. I've even brought an old handset with me. But throughout the last 10 years, there's been a theme at the heart of this organisation. And that's protecting the customer. Or it would be. There we go. And this in time would form the mission statement of this organisation. Now, back in 2021, we were an integral part of Sky Betting and Gaming, part of the regulated gambling industry. We were good corporate citizens. We pioneered some safer gambling initiatives. And we participated in industry-wide initiatives like GamStop. That was a way of people excluding for GamStop, and that would take you off and be excluded from all of the gambling brands. It was good, but it was limited due to privacy concerns that required exact matching of personal information. We undertook financial vulnerability checks, quite tricky to say. But that was to ensure that customers who probably shouldn't be gambling with us weren't. What we want to do, and we still do, is for people to have fun safely. Now, our company had grown significantly over the years, acquiring several other brands, and we were obliged to ensure that those self-exclusions on one brand were replicated onto another brand. In 2021, we were developing a more rigorous and extensive approach than GamStop to be used internally. That was called CBSE, cross-brand self-exclusion. It's been mentioned a few times tonight, but more of that later. Cryptocurrencies were something slightly mysterious. Some people were in, making lots of money. Some people were in and losing lots of money. Was it a pyramid scheme? And as we hurtle towards climate disaster, the energy consumption required for these things was really alarming. There's some small-scale crypto gambling going on, but it was largely unregulated. Crypto gambling. Virtual worlds were a thing, mostly in the gaming space. Things like Second Life and Roblox, that's Roblox, for those that don't know. And the metaverse is becoming slightly more well-known after Facebook's rebranding to Meta. But it didn't quite have broad appeal yet. And Mark Zuckerberg had already called out that the metaverse was going to require new forms of governance. Not that we should have really listened to him talk about anything about governance, of course. Now, there was a few VR headsets around at the time. Sony and Oculus were the major sort of players in that space. And augmented reality was kind of limited to using your handsets, your phones. And Google's glasses from sort of nearly 10 years previous was way ahead of its time and didn't really sort of take off. This is PokerStar's virtual reality poker. Looks quite cool. That was launched in 2018. It was a sort of technical demonstration. It was a fun to play product. It was like, yeah, just a demonstration. It wasn't for real money. But that was kind of the state of where we were at. Now, in 2022, we launched CBSE. It went live. Now, that was a significant step towards protecting customers across our brands. And it would go on to play a really significant step in the evolution of our organization. That year at the World Cup, unfortunately, social media was in the spotlight, as numerous racist posts targeting English players as we crashed out of the qualifiers. Many calls for tighter regulation of social media. The self-policing that was meant to happen clearly wasn't working. The early 20s were a time of significant technological change and growth of cryptocurrencies. Unregulated loot boxes dominating gaming products and revenue streams. EA Sports made $1.6 billion from FIFA Ultimate Team in 2021, and a substantial portion of that was from loot boxes. By 2023, an outdated Gambling Act was finally passed. It had been a long time coming, heavily delayed and modified along the way. Offshore gambling companies have been paying significant consultancy fees to the government ministers, and as it later turned out, there was large-scale manipulation of social media going on. The Act was behind the industry, mandating mandatory spending limits and affordability checks, steps that were largely undertaken by the industry already at that point. But it did pave the way for a significant data sharing exercise for self-exclusions. And this was Boris's last act before losing the election in 23. Now, the new government was a coalition of green and yellow, and they wasted no time in overhauling of ministerial practice and launching a Royal Commission on Digital Society. Looking at the impact of digital media, both in the 23 election, but also in wider society. So in 2024, enabled by the Gambling Act of the previous year, the year dawned with the beginning of a really revolutionary experiment. The fluttered brands of Sky Betting and Gaming, Paddy Power, Betfair, along with Hills and Entain, entered into a time-limited data sharing exercise, sharing self-exclusions. And that was using a version of CBSE that we'd spun off specifically for the purpose. And it clearly showed the benefits of an integrated approach, but not all operators were keen. They were concerned that customers were going to get poached. Now, the Royal Commission, they produced an interim report. They found strong evidence of large-scale manipulation of individuals across social media, with vast botnets spreading racism, hatred, intolerance, and disinformation. And the scene was set for the government to get tough on social media. They've been self-policing for so long, it wasn't working. So the Social Media Commission was launched to regulate, a bit like the Gambling Commission. And within 18 months, social media sites that were accessible in the UK had to ensure that their customers were verified from an identity and an age perspective. Children could access safe sandbox environments only if it was granted by a verified responsible adult. Now, with the final remnants of COVID Delta 4 variant finally stamped out, and a truly unforgettable Paris Olympics, the world celebrated, and boy, do we celebrate. The Roaring Twenties had begun, seeing a massive uptick in people seeking entertainment of all forms, and increasingly in virtual and COVID-safe environments. Coldplay's spectacular farewell gig played to 70,000 people in public, 35 million online. They used improvised handsets and headsets, often using their phones and cardboard. And arguably, the people online had a better experience, especially if they had a decent headset. They were treated to a range of stunning virtually only effects. This was the year that the metaverse, interconnected virtual worlds, really began to take off. And with it, the growth and reach of unregulated cryptocurrency gambling. Now, 2025 was to be an absolutely pivotal year for customer. The brands under Flutter, including Sky Betting and Gaming, finally completed their transition to common shared platforms. And the group launched their Safe Customer Account product, also known as Customer. And this will provide verified customers to social media and gambling sites. This will put the customer at the heart of privacy controls and choose what they would share, what data they would share with organizations, and provide effective limits across a range of brands. Now, we weren't the only operator in town, but our heritage and reputation in gambling and our impact of the proof of concept meant that we had a really positive, a really significant edge over our competitors. Uptake was huge. Meta were also trying to do the same kind of thing. But there was a platform in decline. It was tarnished by the Facebook scandals from earlier in the decade, and it was widely recognized around the globe for the algorithmic spreading of hate. Use of virtual platforms increased. Massive increases in gambling in the metaverse, largely unregulated, untaxed, and troublingly accessible to minors. The beginning of the second half of the decade saw new releases of virtual reality technology, Oculus, Sony, and Sky Glass. Next generation VR kit, using nanotechnology, lighter, more powerful, and significantly cheaper than that had gone before. A collaboration between Sky and Sky Betting and Gaming for the World Cup in North America, an immersive football experience from the touchline, with regulated users seeing in-play statistics and being able to place bets online. Now, the World Cup wasn't without controversy. Licensed products drew attention for all the wrong reasons. In Europe, Panini brought out a digital version of their popular football cards, and kids and adults loved it, but perhaps a bit too much. When workarounds for parental controls were published on Reddit, children ran amok and started racking up huge bills as they bought all these packs of virtual cards, trying to chase down the rare cards. Questions were raised about the fairness and distribution of the cards, but that was taken down before anybody could prove it. That year's edition of FIFA World Cup from Konami also was criticised for targeting children. The base game was a bare shell. Teams were uncompetitive. If you used the game for it to be entertaining, you had to purchase more things to make it good. A researcher at UCL was able to demonstrate that the initial purchases had a higher probability of success than later ones, hooking you in. With increasing concern about the proliferation of unregulated gambling in the metaverse and unscrupulous gambling operators operating loot boxes, the coalition government acted quickly. A fresh new gambling act would regulate access to gambling components of the metaverse, with fairness rules around loot boxes. The definition of gambling was extended. Anything that you had to purchase that provided any kind of gratification but had an uncertain outcome was included. The Gambling Commission was going after Panini and the gaming companies. Meanwhile, Customer teamed up with Electronic Arts. We were going to provide regulated and verified customers for their account for the launch of their expansive VR game, Planet B. And this was a significant milestone for partnering with a gaming company, but also significant for the games publisher too. This would see a single, expansive world that could be experienced by all ages, with age-appropriate content and separation of players based on their age, an experience that would grow as they would grow. Now, due to the incredible success of Planet B, we had to enhance the types of limits that were available to us in virtual and gaming contexts, limiting time and money, restricting the kind of experiences that were available, when and for how long. We launched a gaming risk team who would identify patterns of potentially harmful behavior in virtual environments and ensure that people stayed safe. The following year saw a major expanse of Planet B, integrating with a number of regulated gambling brands into their flavor of the metaverse. Futuristic casinos, poker with aliens, esports, anything imaginable. And at the same time, expanding the number of gambling brands, customer account integrated with. At the same time, we expanded the number of gambling brands that we were integrated with, as other operators started to see the benefits of integrating with an account with such broad reach. Future partnerships between Customer and other gaming publishers in the metaverse also followed. And that led to an interesting opportunity for Customer, because up until this point, we'd had multiple wallets with the various cryptocurrencies, and we continue to do that. But the following year, we were able to launch our own environmentally friendly cryptocurrency and exchange, along with an integration to a raft of physical retailers. In virtual worlds, you could purchase or win items, represented as NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which of course have been around for a long time. But here we had an exchange where you could, something that you could win in the virtual world, you could then exchange it for the real thing in the physical world and have it delivered to your door. The final stop before we arrive at today was the Iberian World Cup, Here, Panini decided that they were going to partner with us this time, keen to ensure there was no repeat of the 4 years previous. They launched another virtual card app based on NFTs, providing greater transparency, and utilized a version of our exchange with a specific section just for children, so the children could exchange virtual cards with other children just for cards. And that brings us to today. We are customer. We put customers at the heart of everything that we do. From our humble beginnings as an integral part of a gambling organization, to being a standalone product used by millions of customers across the globe. We provide safe and secure access to regulated entertainment across many brands, verticals, and virtuals. We keep customers safe and entertained across them all. We ensure privacy controls and limits are respected across. And we provide effective interventions and offers of help when there's risk of harm. We enable children to have a safe and regulated access to virtual platforms with appropriate content. Racism, hate, manipulation, and misinformation of people through social media has largely been impractical, and we've played a significant role in that. We perform millions of authorizations a day, access to products, content, authorizations to place bets. And we guarantee the integrity of virtual currencies, minting thousands of NFTs and crypto coins a day. We protect the customer. Another little subversive message for you. So, back to now, back to 2021. As we take some initial steps towards some common platforms and identify some shared services that we can build to support multiple brands, we have some choices to make. How do we design a payment system that works for Sky Vegas, but also Betfair's exchange? How do we implement controls and limits that keep customers safe across casino and bet and across Sky Betting and Gaming and Paddy Power and Betfair? How do we share appropriate levels of customer data, self-exclusion information between Paddy Power and Sky Betting and Gaming to respect data privacy concerns, but at the same time keep our customers safe? And that privacy concern has been a fundamental design principle of CBSE that's now entering test. Could we extend that to share self-exclusion customer information more broadly across other brands outside of the group? If we make the right decisions, the correct definitions of system boundaries and responsibilities, and not only implement them, but defend those boundaries over time as the inevitable change happens. If we do that correctly, then it's easy to see how we can extrapolate those paradigms and apply to similar problems that currently exist outside of our organization. And perhaps more than that, perhaps we leave the door ajar to be able to capitalize on future possibilities and opportunities. But perhaps more than that, we leave the door open to create those opportunities. And maybe some of those opportunities might be shaped similar to what I've just described. Now, you might not agree with this story. It is just a story, after all. It's my personal vision of a future. But it's the future, and the future is yet to be written. So thank you very much for listening to me talk about this future that is yet to be written. I'd like to leave you with a question. And that is, what future do you want to create? Thank you very much.
Now that was really thought-provoking. Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? In person or online? No. So we're going to move on then quickly. I'd like to hand over to our head of delivery, Mr. Adam Potter, to close up this evening. So, Adam.
Cheers. Thank you, Michelle. That wasn't half bad, was it? I think that was very futuristic. That was AC, and thank you for that and everyone who presented. So I'll keep this short and sweet because I'm conscious I'm the last thing between you and food. So yeah, what I wanted to just say was, hopefully what you take away from tonight is what it truly means to be part of an awesome team. I think it takes craft. I think it takes genuine purpose. It's a very delicate art. And what we've created here is a team that is fundamentally set up to scale and succeed. And that's what we're living now. I want to say thank you to all the presenters this evening. I thought you did a cracking job. This was very much an idea that we had 4 weeks ago. And I'm so proud that we just took the punt and we were like, sack it, let's just do it and see what happens. And it's amazing to see so many C-tappers here and supporting colleagues. I think that's what it's about. That is fundamentally what it's about, to be part of a team and be so immensely proud of it. So yeah, what I will do is shameless plug, but bear with me. So hopefully that might inspire a few people to come join us. We're a tribe that is looking to scale. We're a tribe that is looking to have impact. If it's anything to go by Ian's ambitions, we're going to have to do a lot of that over the next couple of years. And we've got lots of opportunities within the tribe. We've got opportunities across our engineering, architecture, product, analyst functions, but we've always got other opportunities across the business as well. And so what I would say is that hopefully tonight has shown you some of the great personalities that we've got within CTAP and SBG, and you're now more confident to reach out, slide into the DMs as the kids do nowadays, and say hello. So yeah, I'll leave it on that. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out this evening to join. And yeah, thank you, Michelle, and the presentations.